Welcome to the first BattleForge tutorial. I'll show you today what's needed to play out a card and how you conquer resources. This is a typical starting point in BattleForge. The only things that you need to play out a card are pretty basic. So we have some power generators over here and a monument over here, and that's all the starting resources you need to play out a card. On each card, whether it's a unit, a building, or a spell, the power you need to summon this card is displayed in the upper right corner. In BattleForge, you'll find power generators spread at strategically important points within the scenarios. To conquer one of those, it's very easy. So we summon a squad of thugs and then send them to the next power generator. And all you need to do, as long as there's no enemy, you need to click on the on-screen action button or the detail view action button, and it's ours. Besides power generators, there are monuments in BattleForge. These monuments grant you orbs. And these orbs are needed to play out stronger cards. For instance, this guy only needs one orb in order to play him out. But the more orbs you have, the more powerful cards you can play out. So on the border of the screen, you see another monument that's protected by some enemies. What we do, we enforce our army now to get rid of those guys and take over the monument. So we play out a couple of more thugs, as well as some archer guys, the Sunstriders, and send them over. So in BattleForge, there's no base building, so you can play out cards anywhere close to your own structures or friendly units, which gives the game a more dynamic feeling. So you can, when you're in battle, you can play out cards anywhere you like. After we get rid of those enemies, we can now take over the second monument. We just click on it and then select the power of the orb that we want. In our case, we choose red for fire, since we only have fire cards in our deck. The orb needs a little bit of time to build up. In the meanwhile, enemies are approaching us, so we need to defend us. We have a very nice and handy eruption spell in our deck that we can use to hold the enemies back. Very handy. Now that our second orb is built up, we have access to more powerful cards, like the Enforcer, for instance.
Enforcer! Lunchtime!
The most powerful cards in BattleForge need up to 4 orbs in order to unleash them into battle. But how that looks like and how that works, we'll show you in the next tutorial. Welcome back to our second tutorial. We already showed you in the first one that we have 3 types of cards in BattleForge: buildings, spells, and units. And if you manage to get up to 4 orbs in one of our scenarios, you'll experience the best and the most impressive cards that we offer in BattleForge. For instance, my house, my spell, and my favorite card, my bodyguard, the Juggernaut.
Juggernaut ready for battle.
I'll use the Juggernaut as an example to explain to you the informations that are displayed on this card. For instance, in the first tutorial I already told you that in the upper right corner, there's the amount of orbs and the amount of power displayed that you need to play this card. And then at the bottom of the card, you see the attack and the hit points. Also, a little explanation about the special ability. In that case, it's Stampede. And if you've seen the first trailer, you know what I'm talking about. Also displayed on the card is the rarity. In BattleForge, we have 4 types of rarity, so it's common, uncommon, rare, and ultra rare. And what the ultra rare cards make them so ultra rare, we'll show you in our next tutorial about the powers of frost and fire. Welcome back to the next BattleForge tutorial. As you all know, there are 4 powers in BattleForge: fire, frost, nature, and shadow. Nature and shadow we're going to reveal throughout the next month, but today we're going to take a closer look about what's so special about fire and frost. In BattleForge, each power has its characteristic style of play. Depending on the scenario you choose, you want to choose wisely as well what kind of cards you pick, because it might determine whether you win or lose. Fire cards in BattleForge represent the more aggressive strategy. The fire cards deal a lot of damage, and if you would compare them to a class in an MMORPG, you would choose a damage dealer or a tank. Like The Juggernaut, for instance, he's a big guy. He has lots of hit points. He can take a beating, so you would send him to your enemies. And then all the little units, the destructive spells, they will deal a lot of damage. If you team up in the 2, 4, or 12-player scenarios, you definitely want someone with a strong fire deck who can deal a lot of damage and kick the enemy's ass. But certainly, you want to make sure that if you go to the battles, you'll take someone with you who has a strong Frost deck. Frost in BattleForge stands for the more defensive strategy. Units that can defend structures, buildings, or certain strategic important points in the scenarios. But what they also can do is they can walk behind the front wave and support your troops while moving forward. Also, what you see behind me, the freeze spell, it's not only handy in PvE, but it will also drive players crazy in PvP. I hope you learned a little bit about Fire and Frost today. In the next tutorial, we're finally going to reveal the next power, and it's going to be Nature. I'm very excited to show you the Shaman and the Razor Leaf, so stay tuned.